Adding a new addition to the Wellness Journey podcast series, we present Loving the Natural You. As we travel through life, our mind, body, and spirit go through a multitude of changes. And without taking time to learn about these changes, you might feel lost, insecure, and unhappy. It's time to establish peace with those transitional periods we experience in midlife. It's time to focus on ways to honor your temple and locate your inner joy. Join me, Lynnis Woods-Mullins, on Wellness Journey podcast series as we talk with a new group of forward-thinking experts who can provide insight and help us develop another level of self-awareness through loving the natural you. Hello and welcome to the Wellness Journey podcast series. My name is Lynnis Woods-Mullins and I am a holistic living and wellness coach for women over 40, publisher of Wellness Woman 40 and Beyond e-magazine, and your host today on the Wellness Journey podcast series. Now, as you may already know, the name of this particular group of interviews or series is Loving the Natural You. And the reason why I decided to do a series on Loving the Natural You is that I think that so many times we get away from ourselves and get so busy being preoccupied with all the distractions that are out there and all the things and definitions of who we say we are, that sometimes we need to kind of reconnect with ourselves and remember to love who we are as we are right now in this moment in time, especially as we age. You know, I was talking to my dad earlier today and I was asking him something about what he was going to be doing tomorrow or next week, whatever. And he looked at me and at first I thought he was kidding. He was very serious. He said, well, you know, Lynnis, since I'm 87 years old, I just focus on what's going on right now. I'm present right now. I don't know what's going to be happening tomorrow. He said, but right now, I'm with you. We're having a good time. When tomorrow comes, I'll let you know. You know. And I thought about that. And at 87, I thought, yeah, I could see why he would think that way. But you know what? What's wrong with thinking about that way in midlife as we age, as we become wiser, realizing that you can't change the past. You can't predict the future. So why not be more present in our lives? One of the things that I had promised myself when I did this series, that I was going to get in touch with someone that had been on my show maybe about, maybe 7 years ago or so, not too long after I first started this show. Her name is Jennifer Elizabeth Masters, and I just love her approach to life. And I think we might be kindred spirits because we have a few things in common. Jennifer is a soul sculptor, and I'll let her tell you exactly what that means. But she has healed and empowered thousands of women to overcome trauma and find love and passion and happiness in their lives and relationships by helping them heal from codependency, addictions, depression, anxiety, even suicidal tendencies, fears that they might be suffering from. And some of her clients have been movie producers, some famous spiritual healers, and authors. Wayne Dyer was not only a client, but also a friend. And that's so interesting that you say that, Jennifer, because I'm reading a book about that, that he wrote just recently. I got it yesterday, called Excuses Be Gone, is what I'm reading about. And Jennifer, she is overcoming her own trauma as allowed. She has great compassion and understanding for others who struggle with issues around love, money, and feeling lost. Jennifer healed herself of an autoimmune disease, tumors, breast cancer, depression, anxiety, fibromyalgia, codependency, and financial issues. She is a healer's healer. She is a modern-day mystic and an international best-selling author, and love and happiness coach, and just basically a phenomenal woman. Jennifer, welcome to the Wellness Journey podcast series. It's wonderful to have you here today.
Thank you, Lynnis. It's a delight to be back with you.
Yes. You know, it's no coincidence. That's why we're talking. I am preparing for a client that I'm taking on who needs some leadership coaching. And she also has some midlife issues going on. And so I asked a friend of mine what books I should be getting. And he said, oh, you need to get Wayne Dyer's book, Excuses Be Gone. And it's so funny because prior to his telling me that, out of the blue, I started listening to Wayne Dyer's stuff on YouTube just over the last 2 weeks. So obviously Wayne is channeling us to get together or something. So you knew him? What a fantastic and beautiful soul. Oh my goodness. I didn't discover Wayne until maybe his last 7 years of life, I guess. Before that, I used to see him on PBS, but I wasn't in that wellness vein back then. I was too busy being sick with an anxiety disorder that if I had sat and talked with him, it probably would have been a longer journey. So real quick, tell us a little bit about Wayne Dyer and how you came to know him.
So Wayne was speaking at a Louise Hay event in Florida. And I went with some friends. And, it's interesting because I had seen Wayne. I was living in Atlanta, and I'd seen him several times at the Unity Church I attended at the time. And everybody wanted to go see Wayne. I said, well, I've seen Wayne already. But that was the event where he announced that he had, I'm trying to think, he had that blood disorder, leukemia.
Yes.
And so, he's a very down-to-earth man. And I noticed as I walked by after the event that a swarm of people were around them. And I was feeling like, jeepers, that doesn't feel good. And I felt compelled to get my card to him, and I didn't know how. And before we took a break and walked away, I looked and looked and looked for the person that was his handler at the time. And I said, he needs me. I'm hearing Wayne needs me and I can help him. So I handed her my card. And, within an hour, I hear my phone rings and I answer the phone and it's, hi, this is Wayne Dyer. Is this Jennifer? And I said, yes. He said, can you come now? And he was staying at the Marriott, and he told me where his hotel room was. And he greeted me wearing a pair of basketball shorts, no shirt, no shoes,
Right.
Just au natural. And he was just lovely, would not say a bad word. He wouldn't. And I helped him through a heart attack, and we were friends and talked on the phone quite a lot after that.
Wow. Yeah, he's an amazing person. I did go to see him once, and it was at a large venue, and I had nosebleed seats because I got a chance to go at the last minute, and that's the ticket that was available. But I felt like he was talking right to me. Over the years, I didn't realize this, but I've collected quite a few of his books over the years. In those 7 years that when I first found out about him, which now has been like 17 years ago now. But yesterday, when I was looking for that book, I went to a local bookstore. I try to, go to the local bookstores and try to patronize the independent book owners. And he had a whole section of Wayne Dyer. And I just went there. It's like, wow, I ended up buying much more than just the one book. But that's amazing. That is amazing. And one thing that I am learning from him is the importance of being present. And also watching the words and the things that we tell ourselves. And I would imagine when it comes to beginning that self-love process, that loving the natural you, who you are, truly who you are, the good and the bad, the first step is to learn how to be present and how to just be able to sit there with you without all those other distractions.
And breathe. And I will say probably the most important thing to loving yourself is to breathe. And I, like I said, you read already that I worked with thousands of women, and every single time I get on the phone with them, I'll ask, so are you holding your breath? And they go, well, how did you know? So when we don't have good self-esteem, and I was there was a time when my self-esteem was it was terrible. And I realized I was laying on a healer's table at the time, and I noticed I was holding my breath, literally holding my breath. And I actually, it occurred to me, like, how often am I breathing? And I would breathe so few times in a minute. So when we think about that, what does that do? So just the simple act of breathing deeply, it brings us into the present.
Yes, it does. I say all the time, Jennifer, that we are a nation of non-breathers. We're all walking around holding our breaths. Why is that? Why are we walking around holding our breaths?
Well, a great question. The reason is because we think of ourselves as small. We don't want to take up too much space. We don't want anybody to notice us. And basically what we're doing is we are not affirming life. So to really breathe in deeply is a part of feeling good about you. And so when we don't feel good about ourselves, we hardly breathe because we almost feel like we don't have the right to be here. And when you think about it, what does breathing do? I mean, if somebody was to put a plastic bag over our face, wouldn't be very long before we would, not be here, right?
Right.
So the breath is number one in healing your life and yourself and getting started on the road to being happy with you. So knowing you deserve to be here and affirm life. I do deserve to be here. Take a deep breath, fill your lungs. And what happens when we expand our lungs? Well, one thing, you won't get COPD if you're breathing deeply. And that's why we have a nation of people that are getting COPD because they hold their breath. You don't want to be on oxygen 24/7 like people with COPD because you can't go anywhere. It's hard to be out in the world. So taking up space, be unapologetic about being you. Take a deep breath, number one.
Wow. That's interesting. That's a wonderful piece of advice. And I know that there's so many people who are listening to this broadcast right now consciously. Wow, that's right. I don't. If we're reading, we very rarely stop and take deep breaths. Anyway, it's cleansing. It reconnects yourself with you, but it also helps get the oxygen flowing to your brain. You're more centered and you'll think more clearly if you breathe because you need that oxygen for your blood to go to the brain.
So the other part of that is when you're not breathing deeply, you're not grounded in your body either. So that's why people who aren't breathing deeply don't feel good about themselves and they don't feel comfortable in their own skin because they're out of their body. They're out there in the ethers. And so breathing deeply grounds you in your body. And so we have to stop hating on our body. We have to stop hating this body. We have to love it. It's a gift. This is a gift. Yes. It's unknown to us. Our spirit will live on after the body's gone, but this body's a gift. And so we have to treat it like the very special gift it was from the Creator.
Well, I know that you've written several books, and you are now releasing a book called It's All Bullshit, Overcoming Depression, Gain Clarity, and Get Your Life Back. Can you tell us a little bit about why you wrote that book and what the book is about?
Well, the title is totally unexpected for me. I was given, like I channeled that title, and I was like, oh, wow. My mother does not appreciate it.
That's okay. I understood it initially. Because sometimes you just have to call a spade and get down to brass tacks because you're right. That whole feeling and what causes it and everything else and what goes into getting that way, because I suffered from an anxiety disorder, was all bullshit. I mean, it really was. We really got right down to it. And then also when you found out what it was you really needed to do to get better, and you're like, wow, really? It's not rocket science.
So we've been taught a fairy tale. We've been given I will say a bill of goods that isn't true. And as long as we believe the lie, we continue to wonder why. I don't want to give the whole book away,
okay.
But basically from the get-go, from the time we're little, we're told certain things that pan out to be not true. And I mean, from like at women, get married, you'll be happy. Have that relationship, you'll be happy. Make money, you'll be happy. And you were in corporate America.
Yeah, exactly. And it had so little to do with that. And I'll tell you something that's really interesting. I had this goal that when I walked away from my 6-figure salary, that I would replace it by a certain period of time within 2 to 3 years. And I just about made the goal. It was more like in 4 years it took me to replace it. But the interesting thing was, while I was working on that, do you know I did not really even miss that money? And I was so much happier because I was operating within my gifting and I was operating within my purpose. I feel that I'm very blessed because I do know my purpose. And when you know your purpose, the things that normally used to get you upset and that you would get preoccupied with and would distract you, they're kind of no longer there. And it was amazing how it really helped me on that journey in terms of getting better, realizing that the things that I had put so much weight in really ultimately weren't important in terms of whatever it was that the universe had for me. That was a part of my journey, and I don't regret it. But I am so glad that I had the courage to, continue the journey with the idea of doing something new. Sometimes I feel like people are fearful about taking detours along their journey.
People are fearful of themselves. They're afraid to be authentic. They're afraid to let other people see who they are. Mm-hmm. They're afraid to step out of their comfort zone. They're afraid to take risks. They're afraid to start new careers. People are afraid of so many things. Yes. And that fear keeps us stuck, and it keeps us in this little box that we've painted for ourselves.
Yes. Fear is crippling. I know that with my anxiety was a lot of fear. I mean, got so bad before I finally decided to, leave my job and do something else, that I would have anxiety all day until the sun went down. Wow. When the sun went down, that signified the end of a business day. That meant, offices were closed, banks were closed, schools were closed, stores were closing. And then I didn't have to worry about anything outside of my control happening because everything was closed. Now, at the time when I was going through all of that, I thought that maybe there was something, hormonally wrong with me because I was just beginning to start menopause. But I found out later on, it's something like almost like a sundowner syndrome. I found out later on that the subscript that was running in the back of my mind was that as long as everything was open, I was trying to control everything, even things that were ridiculous to try to control. When things began to close down, I gave myself permission to be honest with myself that I couldn't control it and relax. The only problem with that is that, in most cases, they only gave me like 3 or 4 hours out of a day, maybe 6 hours out of a day where I did not have any anxiety. And then I'd go to sleep, wake up, boom, it was right there just like clockwork. And I lived like that for almost 20 years until I finally decided that I needed to make a change. Now, I know in your situation, you said that you suffered from anxiety and depression as a result of a sexual trauma. Could you share with us your story and what happened?
Well, that happened as a child, and I didn't realize until I was in my, I would say, 40s that I had been depressed all my life. And maybe not in my 20s. I didn't realize it then, but there's this low grade thing that, the more we stuff our emotions and, we're trained as well, be a good girl and it will love you. Do as you're told and things will be okay. And we keep stuffing our emotions. We're not allowed to express anger as a child. We may not be allowed to express, much of anything. We may be told, don't cry. And that when we stuff our emotions, what happens is eventually, and you can speak to this, that these things build up inside of us, and it's either explode or get depressed. It's one or the other. And so I got depressed, and the depression is from stuffing our emotions and feelings, which I had done so well for so many years. And as I started to love myself more and of course cry and work on healing myself and allow myself to feel and express, vocalize what I was thinking instead of, that's that old thing, put up or shut up. And that, a lot of us were raised with that. And so if you had abuse in childhood, you were raised with that put up or shut up theme. And so we don't speak up for ourselves. So took a long while before I had the nerve to start speaking up for myself. I mean, when we're molested, no doesn't mean no. And so, I found historically men just, no didn't mean anything to them. And so there was a lot of anger and rage that I'd stuffed from all of that abuse. And so clearing that was part of it. I let a lot of that go. And I want to speak to that about the clearing in this book. It's so unique. Within the book, there is energy clearings and audios at the very end that will help to heal the anxiety, heal the fears, heal the worry, heal the depression, and even suicidal ideation.
Wow.
So at the end of the book, yes.
Talk a little bit about clearing and energies and why that's important, especially for women as we begin to age. Why do you think it should be an important part of their wellness regime?
Well, think about, if you were driving a car for, say, 50 years, if only a car would last 50 years.
I wish, huh?
But it's a great example. So think about a car that we never wash, we never vacuum it out, we never clean out the candy wrappers and the water bottles. And that is basically what we are doing when we don't do an energy clearing. We have arguments, we have upsets, we get upset at work, we might lose a job, get fired, we worry. All of those things puts negativity in our field that surrounds us. And an energy clearing lifts all that debris, and it's like sandblasting for the soul. It's gentle. You have more clarity. You sleep better at night. It gets rid of insomnia. You quiet the mind. You feel more calm and relaxed and peaceful. You feel lighter. So it will change a negative person into a positive person, because see, every time we think a thought, especially if it's a worrisome thought, it creates thought forms in our field. And these thought forms build up. And especially if we have anxiety, then we have obsessive thoughts that loop and loop and loop, right? So it gets rid of that too. And so each time you listen, you get lighter and lighter and lighter.
Now, what are the methods that people use when it comes to energy clearing? Because I know that some of my listeners might be familiar with it, but some may not.
Well, in my case, I'm working with the divine, and I'm working with the angels, and so I am asking. I'm basically commanding to have things happen for you in the audio programs. So I'm asking to clear this thing, clear this worry, clear this fear, and it happens. So part of this was I was trained in energy healing from someone who downloaded this, and then over the years I've developed my own healing as well. And so that's what I'm doing.
Well, talking about going back to the natural you, that is to be able to go down to something as basic as taking a look at the energies that we have and clearing those energies. Because, we think about going to the doctor and having our eyes checked and having our mammogram and having our blood pulled and all that stuff. But very rarely do we think about our energy health. What's going on with our energies and how energy can play a very pivotal role when it comes to our overall wellness.
Well, not just our energy, but our thoughts. And I'm really big on, and I was very negative, extremely negative. My family was negative and very judgmental. So I was raised with that. So, after, 35, 40 years of negativity, all of a sudden I started to change the way I thought, the way I spoke to myself. And instead of, examining all my flaws and faults, and I love to do this. Where is my thing? I have this. There. I have this. So this is what we do, right? So we examine all our flaws and faults. So look at my boobs are too flat. My ass is too big. My thoughts.
Right, exactly. Right? For those of you who are listening on audio, she just held up this really big magnifying glass. And that's right. That's how I look at myself. I do. I do.
So I started talking to myself lovingly and being kind and compassionate and grateful every day. The first thing I do, and I'm telling you, so the breath is number one, being grateful for what we have and noticing the small things. We're so concerned about the big things, the big bucks, the lottery, the car, the house, the marriage. What about the birds that are singing, the flowers that are blooming? I was just at this beautiful orchid show today. I mean, being out in nature and enjoying the sunshine, being happy that we have trees and flowers and sunshine. We've got to focus and enjoy the little things and be grateful for those, or we're not going to be grateful for anything. So the happier that we are with what we have now, the more that we will reap and benefit from. We get more when we're grateful for what we have. If we complain, this is what I say: complain, moan, bitch, die alone. So, and who wants to be near somebody who complains all the time? I know I don't.
No, I can't stand it. I have to be around positive people who can see the good and who can focus on thriving. But given the times that we're living in right now, there are those who would say these are very negative times and news is full of negativity. How does one who wants to make that change, wants to change the trajectory of their thoughts, how does one get through all of that when you're just beginning to learn how to be more positive?
Well, one, we have to have faith that the universe and the divine knows what they are doing. If you are focused on the news and what's happening in the media and why is this happening, and that means that you're trying to control. Maybe what's happening is exactly what needs to happen. Have faith that it is what needs to happen. That we are in this unbecoming time where unbecoming actions are taking place in the world, in our government, and things are falling apart because they need to. Because the way our government was run, even before what's happening now, it hasn't been working for quite some time. And I believe two parties should never, it's like blacks against whites. Why do that? Why divide the country with two? It doesn't make sense to me.
It no longer works.
No,
And as I mentioned earlier, I was listening to Eckhart Tolle, one of the interviews he did with Oprah Winfrey for his anniversary of New Earth book that he wrote back in 2008. And she was talking about this very thing. And one of the things he said was basically exactly what you said, Jennifer. You're in great company. That this is happening because it's supposed to be happening. And it's a part of our journey. And we can take it in and, get angry about it and fight it and talk about it and carry on the negativity of it, or look at it as part of your journey and an opportunity. There's something you're supposed to learn. There's something that, and it's interesting because, and this is absolutely true, it's been true in my life. I have found that when I've had, obstacles, challenges, problems, whatever you want to call it, that seem like setbacks. When I get to the breakthrough, I'm so much further ahead had I not had that setback. It's almost like, it's like a serious bounce back, setback, bounce back, beyond. Because normally when you bounce a ball, it usually goes further than what you might expect it to. You're thinking, oh, it's going to hit there. No, it hit there. And that trajectory of energy, it's hard to guesstimate exactly, where the ball will bounce. Well, for me, when it came to breakthroughs or getting past obstacles, when I got to the other side of it, it was so much better than it was before I went through that.
And you were more powerful as a result. Correct?
Yes, stronger, more powerful. Faith muscles get stronger. I'm almost to the point, not quite, where that when something happens, I can say, oh, great, thank you. Another opportunity to see God work. Haven't gotten there yet, but that is my goal because I know that it's part of his plan. But haven't gotten there yet. I have to be honest about that one. Like, I don't know. But I can say, for instance, that the death of my mother, while I miss her dearly, and it's been 30 years, I know that it was ultimately a part of God's plan because I would not be doing what I'm doing now. No way had I not done this.
So those boulders in our path, this is the way I deal with what's going on in our political system and our political arena. I watch comedians. Excuse
Yeah.
my alarm is going off. Hey, excuse me 1 second. Okay, Google, turn off the alarm, please.
I love it. Don't you love it? That's okay.
So the way I watch comedy, I don't have television anymore. I only have my computer. I got rid of a TV. I haven't had cable in, I think, 5 years. So I watch Stephen Colbert. I watch Seth, I'm trying to remember, and Trevor Noah.
Seth Meyers.
Seth Meyers and Trevor Noah.
Okay.
That's about it. I don't watch the news, and I laugh at it. And every day I am grateful to be alive in this amazing transition, because we asked to be here right now. We asked to be a part of the transition. It is the new world. This is monumental time. It's very powerful. And so the fact that we're here for a reason, and everyone has unique gifts to bring to the world, whether it's to write a book about your story like I did, or to overcome something that you're dealing with in your own life. But everybody's got unique gifts. No two people here on this planet are alike. And so this is the big thing, because it's part of that loving who you are, is don't compare yourself to anyone else. And when you do, you're diminishing who you are, and you're actually collapsing your field. So we are not meant to compare ourselves with anyone, whether it's physical, whether it's intellect, or any way. We're not to compare ourselves, because there is no competition, because we're all different.
We're all different. We're all unique, very unique. There's no person on the planet like you, Jennifer, or like me, or like any of our listeners. And I believe that the recognition of that, at least for me, was the beginning of my journey to self-love. And it's interesting because it's, to me, self-love embodies mind, body, and spirit. And if the wellness of your mind, your body, your spirit, and your soul, if that's off in some kind of way, you want to be able to know that and check in with yourself and do the things that are necessary to get things back in alignment. And for me, it's a constant, journey. It's never all together at one time. And my quest isn't necessarily to have it all together at one time. My quest is just to be aware that I have these components, and they need to be nurtured and cared for and recognized and give honor to. Because I'm a human being, I don't always get it right. But I really want to focus on, and I tell my clients to focus on this too, that sometimes we do need to focus on being human beings instead of human doings. We do so much that we just don't be and check in with what's going on in our minds, our bodies, and our spirits.
Right. And meditation is one of the things. It's a key component to the work that I do. I teach meditation, because it allows us to go inside. It allows us to quiet the mind and also heal the body. One of the things that I teach is this, it's harmonizing the heart mind. And when we harmonize the heart mind, we slow the breath work down, the breathing down, and the body naturally goes into a state of healing because it feels safe. When we're not breathing deeply, when we're feeling anxious, this is the problem, is that we're in a state of stress. The body will not heal. And that is why people with stress get heart disease and all sorts of other problems. So this little anxiety problem is a big problem, because it's going to lead to other things. It has to be healed. And that's what this book, It's All Bullshit, will do. It will tell you the things that you're doing that are creating the issue, and then it will give you the way to fix it.
Now, where can people purchase the book, and where can they go to find out more about you?
Okay, so my website is jenniferelizabethmasters.com, and I have a Facebook page. I am on LinkedIn and of course Facebook. Let's see, what else? I also have a blog, but you can reach me email at jenniferelizabethmasters@gmail.com. And let's see, my book is going to be on Amazon. It'll be an Audible book first before it comes out in ebook and paperback.
Okay, and when is it coming out?
It'll be out within the next 2 weeks.
Okay, and so I think by the time this show airs, it will be out. And for all of those who are actually listening to the show on the show page, you can see all of Jennifer's links to her website, to her Facebook page, to LinkedIn, and hopefully we'll have a link to the book as well. And you can go ahead and take a look at that and purchase the audio book, because I know I'm going to purchase it, because I want to get healed and stay healed and do whatever I need to do to not go back to that.
I have a couple of free gifts for your listeners too.
Oh, great! What is that?
So I have a self-love quiz on my website,
Mm-hmm.
so you can find out how much you love yourself. And I also have a depression quiz, find out how depressed you are. And then that leads to a special package that will help to heal your depression. And the self-love package takes you to a bundle that will help you with confidence and loving yourself more too.
Okay, fantastic. Now, I'm asking this of all the guests, since we're in this series of Loving the Natural You. How do you go about loving yourself?
Well,
How do you show yourself love?
Okay, so the first thing I do in the morning is I am grateful for being alive. That every single day I am grateful that I am alive. I get up, take a shower, I meditate, and I do Kundalini yoga, and I have this practice I must do. So I don't see clients until I do all of those things first. And so my spiritual practice is it's my core. It keeps me grounded. It keeps me sane. It keeps me feeling good. And then my mind quieted in 2007, so I don't have a lot of chatter anymore. But when things are going on in the world, I don't lie. And so when you read my book, It's All Bullshit, you'll understand the damage that lies do to us. They really do damage us. I don't lie, and I love myself with my thoughts. So one of the things I do is a mantra. I love me. Mm-hmm. And so I don't beat myself up when, if I gain a few pounds, I go, well, my body's at its perfect weight, rather than, oh, I'm so fat. Mm-hmm. So I don't make those kinds of negative statements or judgments to me any longer.
That's beautiful. That's a wonderful example. I hope you all were taking notes. And one of the things that's interesting, I want to read the book about the lie part. I want to read that, because I think all of us are not as honest as we could be. I know that certainly has been true for me. You think you're sparing feelings, or you're managing expectations and things like that, and you get caught up in something that's such negative energy, and a lot of people don't realize it, because right now in our country, it's that behavior is being exhibited on a daily basis. And I can imagine it's quite damaging to the soul. So I can hardly wait for this to come out, Jennifer. It's going to be so exciting. Thank you so much for being with us on the Wellness Journey podcast series.
Thanks for having me, Lynnis. It was a joy.
Well, it's wonderful. And again, if you guys haven't seen already, at the bottom there on the show page, and for those of you who are listening on one of our audio platforms, come to the show page. And the show page is listed there. Just click on the show page there, and it will direct you to Jennifer Elizabeth Masters' website, and where you can buy her books and where you can follow her on social media. And I just want to thank all of you for your support and for listening to the Wellness Journey podcast series. I'm so excited about this series. I don't want you to miss a one. So make sure you subscribe to my show, whether you're listening to it on YouTube or listening to it on the show page or your audio platform. So every time we have a new show, it uploads and it will notify you right away, so you don't miss any of these shows in the series. And don't forget to join me in the Wellness Woman 40 and Beyond group. I'm in there every day. I do lives 3 times a day, talking about things that we hope will help you to be well in your mind, body, and spirit. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you again next time. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you have something to share, please comment below. For more Wellness Journey shows, be sure to click the subscribe button below and check out my Facebook group, Wellness Woman 40 and Beyond. Continue taking this journey with us as we explore ways to be well in our mind, body, and spirit while loving the natural you.